IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach Podcast, the bite-sized podcast filled with quick and easy actionable habits. Remember, great habits create that awesome life. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And today's fun fact of the day has to do with the origins of words. Did you know that the origin of the word overwhelmed comes from the word overwhelmen? And this is a Middle English word that meant to topple or overrun. And the word later appears in English as overwhelm. The funny thing is that overwhelm and whelm have exactly the same meaning. So why two words were used to describe the same thing is beyond me. Overwhelmed is currently the most popular of the two words, which is strange because it is a longer word to write and say. Clearly, we are overwhelmed with choice when it comes to these words. And in recent times, more and more people are talking about that feeling of being overwhelmed. How many times have you told someone about feeling overwhelmed? You see, earlier it was used for events like the fortress was overwhelmed by an invading army or being overwhelmed by sickness. It was never used as an emotion or a feeling itself. These days we just say, guys, I'm feeling overwhelmed. The problem is that we now are unable to pinpoint what the source of overwhelm is. What is causing the overwhelm? Every day, so many people write in and share how they're feeling overwhelmed and they do not know what to do about it. Does that sound familiar? Let's understand what's going on. Firstly, being overwhelmed means that you have too much on your plate or you're taking on more than you can handle. Or in other words, you do not know how to prioritize anything. What is basically happening in this case? Everything seems like it's mission critical. Everything is of the same importance. But the truth is, if you put enough thought into it, some things will be more important than others. Paying your child's school fees might be more important than folding laundry. However, in our minds, everything has the same importance. Hence, sometimes in hindsight, we realize that we made foolish decisions based on our priorities. So, step 1 is to make a list of all the tasks you have to do and prioritize them. The second step comes with having too many options or open tasks or things to do. Not completing a task means that you have more and more being added to your plate without enough leaving it. Suddenly you realize, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. This can come from not having an action orientation mindset or by having a perfectionist mindset. See, as a perfectionist, we might not end up completing a task because it is not perfect. We think nothing is good enough and hence we keep trying to perfect it. Hence, the only way to get rid of this feeling of overwhelm is by first prioritizing the most important tasks, then acting on them, making sure you start and finally taking them through to completion. Now, while this may apply to your to-do list, the feeling of overwhelm can actually be an accumulation of a number of feelings together. Example, the feeling of being scared of a presentation, plus having had a fight with your spouse, plus feeling overworked, plus feeling sad about something. The same habits apply to dealing with these feelings too. Identify the most important one and deal with it. Then move to the next and the next after that. Don't just sit in one place worrying and being overwhelmed. Do something about it. So your simple habit of getting rid of this feeling of overwhelm starts by identifying the cause of that overwhelm. If you can identify the cause, it's half the battle won. If the task itself is too huge, then break the things down into smaller and smaller pieces. These smaller pieces are manageable and can be completed easily. Don't allow yourself to be overwhelmed or taken over or overrun. Be in control of your life and your emotions and start prioritizing now. So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Want to wish you all a happy Diwali. Hope you had a great festive season. It's been a great week in terms of the kinds of guests we've had and the kind of conversations we've had on the network this week. Do definitely check some of these things out. On This Round's on Me with Gauri Devidayal. She had a great conversation with Garima Arora, who's one of the best-known chefs in the world. It was just absolutely riveting. Do check that out. On States of Anarchy, Hamsini Hariharan spoke about chronicling India's different wars. Again, really interesting episode. Check that out. Ashdin had a very interesting episode on his show, The Habit Coach. It was called I Don't Feel Like Doing Anything. It's about how to overcome malaise just generally, and I thought really, really interesting stuff. Kumi Vayana was the guest on Cyrus Says on Monday's episode last week, and she's an educator, and my God, it was such a fascinating conversation talking about the way education functions in India and some of the changes she'd like to see. Just really, really interesting stuff. Do give that a listen. On Uncle Please Sit, Anupam Manur was there with Joel and Tushar talking about the Indian economy, part 1 of a 2-part series. Second part will be out this week. You should definitely check that out. Lastly, I want to talk to you all about the Filter Coffee podcast. Karthik Nagarajan, who hosts that show, is on a little bit of a break. He's back with a banger of an episode. It is with Himura Maya, who used to run Landmark Stores, and they talk about the culture of bookstores and quizzing and all kinds of stuff. Really interesting conversation. Do check that out. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
रिश्ते में तो हम तुम्हारे पॉडकास्ट लगते हैं. नाम है फुटबॉल शुटबॉल.
Presenting Football Should Ball, a show about 3 friends discussing our favorite game over a beer. Sometimes 3, maybe even 5. Hi, I'm Shiva, and with me are my 2 sidekicks, Gaurav Sapre and Karthik Iyer.
Sidekick? You mean like Batman's Robin or Van Persie Robin?
No, I mean like Alexis Sanchez, but with a little more skill than just playing the piano.
Ha! Just shows how the best players at Arsenal are mere bench warmers at United.
Oh, thank you, Iyer. But you're a Fulham supporter, so whenever you say anything to support me, I question my beliefs.
Just like how Griezmann would say, एक बार मैंने जो decision ले लिया, तो मैं अपने आप की भी नहीं सुनता.
Banter aside, we will talk match reports, transfer rumors, top controversies, fantasy football picks, and so much more. So grab a beer and tune in to Football Should Ball every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.